Welcome to the Profitable Hypnosis Business Summit, where top experts share their money-making strategies and kick-ass success habits. Hi there. Are you ready to turn your hypnosis business into a business that creates cash flow and gives you the life you want? I'm Karen Bird, your host, owner of Win with Hypnosis and creator of Attitude of a Champion training program for hypnotists. I put together this online event to bring you some of the best experts from around the world. And they're going to be sharing with you not only their tips and strategies, but their number one secret about how to successfully and consistently bring in more cash flow and kick ass in both their business and their lives. And today I have with me Glenn Harrold, and I'm so thrilled to interview Glenn today. He's going to talk about how to create an abundant and successful life, which we all know. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Glenn.
You're most welcome. It's my pleasure.
I can't wait to get started and get the goodies from you. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Glenn, international best-selling and self-help author and incredible, successful clinical hypnotherapist. He owns Divinity Publishing and is an author, musician, and experienced clinical hypnotherapist who has helped thousands of clients over a wide range of stress-related problems. His unique and effective series of professional hypnosis and meditation recordings have sold over 10 million and are one of the world's best-selling self-help audio ranges. We were just talking about some of it, so I'm excited to hear some of the goodies that you get to tell us. Glenn has written 7 self-help books and produced hundreds of hypnosis and meditation audios for BBC Audiobooks, Orion, and his own company, Divinity Publishing. Glenn has 20 years of experience as a clinical hypnotherapist in one-on-one therapy sessions, and in recent years has worked with many high-profile and celebrity clients. I'm going to have you tell me a little bit about that too. In recent years, Glenn's Relax and Sleep Well app has become one of the world's best and biggest grossing self-help apps and has been downloaded over 3 million times. He has a new meditation app, Insight Timer, and is the 4th most popular author out of thousands, and his meditations have been listened to over 6 million times. And he's appeared on BBC TV, BBC Radio, BBC Radio 5 Live, Sky Sports, Channel 4, and many British newspaper and magazine articles. He lives in Portugal with his family and primarily uses Skype to work with his clients and record his interviews, which is interesting in this changing time that we have, that you use Skype and it works, right? It works.
It really does, yeah. I mean, it's such a great medium, isn't it? And yeah, I don't do too many sessions these days, one-to-one, but when I do, you know, Skype is as good. It's not as good as being in the room with someone, but you know, you can still see people's facial movements and read their body language and that kind of thing. So when you're doing a hypnotherapy session, you can really tune into people. So, you know, and yeah, it's a great way to see clients. And you know, I mainly use it for webinars now and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it is a great way. And I know I just had one of our colleagues in Australia do a session on me for some of the stuff that I'm going through. And obviously it was a Skype or a Zoom session. And I was surprised. It was just as effective as if she was in the office with me.
Yeah. It is. It's amazing, you know. And yeah, as I said, you know, when we were chatting before, my oldest son has qualified as a therapist in the last 18 months. And so I get a lot of requests for people to see me. So I've now got a brilliant channel. I've got Junior, you know, and, you know, he's my son, but he is a really, really good therapist. I mean, I just had a quote. Somebody came to me a month ago, and I passed them on to Lee, and she said, your son is absolutely amazing. You know, it's glowing testimonial. And I never got those when I started. I just didn't, it took me a couple of years to really start to get my skill. But Lee's got off to a flyer, and part of that is because, you know, as I said, he's been around hypnotherapy all his life, because I was, you know, he was quite young when I first qualified, and I used to do a lot of hypnosis on him to help him with exams and that kind of thing. So he's known it all his life, and he's kind of been immersed in it. So now he's qualified, he's got that sort of history as well.
Yes, that mindset and the belief system. So if we could all just imagine that we grew up with it and knew how it worked, it would expedite everyone's business like tenfold.
Yeah, that's it, because, you know, belief is a huge part of it all, you know, and if you believe something and you believe it enough and you use your inner resources to sort of amplify that, you can really manifest and create anything in this world.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing what you can do. I've
Yeah.
been on that journey for 25 years and, you know, happy to talk about that in this interview.
Yeah, I love it. So I want to hear more about creating an abundant and successful life. And tell us a little bit about your background and where you came from and where you grew up and how you became a hypnotherapist.
Well, I was originally from London. I was a London boy. You can probably tell by the London brogue. Still got it. I can't shake it off. I try to sort of speak a bit more the Queen's English when I do therapy sessions. Not quite like that, but, you know, I lose my London twang. But yeah, so I, you know, spent a few years there, grew up in the suburbs of London, and grew up in a very dysfunctional household, actually. And, you know, yeah, it was not a happy home, so I'd run away from home. In my teenage life, I got involved with gangs, drink, drugs. I was, you know, used to get arrested, and it was not a particularly good time. I got kicked out of school when I was 15, and I was a product of my home life. You know, all kids that I've come across who are like that always have a dysfunctional home life. You very much, you know, I've got young kids myself now, 2 younger ones, and you know, we're creating a very stable environment for them. And, you know, although they're young, you can see the progress in them already. And so for me, I didn't have that. And, you know, I had a very dysfunctional. So as I got older, I was always looking for ways to fix that. But I just didn't really know how when I was younger. I just knew that I lacked confidence, I lacked self-belief. And the one thing that did change for me back then is that I joined a band. So I learned to play the bass guitar. I was into punk music like the Sex Pistols and the Clash and all that. And I learned to play the bass, and I joined a band, and it gave me a positive outlet for the first time. And that really opened up a whole new direction for me, because I got into a band. And in a couple of years, you know, I was about 19, we were on television in the UK, and we'd won a national pop competition. And you know, we were on the verge of being the next big thing, but it didn't quite happen. We had 15 minutes of fame and it all blew up. But it was a good thing because it suddenly took me in a new direction. And from there, later on, I played guitar on the cabaret circuit. And it was one night on the circuit, we shared the bill with a stage hypnotist. And I was watching this guy manipulate the audience backstage. And I had this epiphany. I saw this thing going on, and it just fascinated me, and I thought, I want to do that. And I just was drawn to it because something was telling me that the power of hypnosis could fix a lot of my own dysfunction. Mm-hmm. So from there, I did a 2-year diploma with the British School of Clinical Hypnosis in London, and I absolutely loved it. I really did. Although, you know, going back, and I've thought about this recently, even sitting in a classroom again back then was a stress for me, because my only experience of being in a classroom was at school, and I had a terrible time there because I was badly behaved, and you know, I was always getting caned or told off, and so I had all this negative conditioning just from sitting in a classroom. But because I was learning these techniques, I was using them to overcome these hurdles. So as I was fearful about sitting in a classroom, I was using self-hypnosis to get over these fears. And little by little, I worked through all these anxiety issues and all the low confidence, low self-esteem issues, and started to get on top of things and started to become more abundant and step into a happier, more prosperous life. And it took a lot of work, you know. Still today, I'm still working on myself because, you know, I've never met anyone who's the finished article. We're all a work in progress, aren't we?
Absolutely.
You know, and as we talked about before, life throws up all kinds of challenges and difficult situations, and, you know, we have to face them. And, you know, look at the world we're living in at the moment. You know, we could have never foreseen this even a year ago. And a lot of people are frightened and anxious at the moment. So bang, this is right hitting us hard. And, you know, so for me, there's never been a more important time to do the inner work. Yeah. Because it's only when you go inside, you drop down into that state, you know, where you're very still and very centered, that you find peace. Because at the moment, you're not going to find it in the outside world, or if you're watching the news every night, there's no peace there. It's just crazy. So meditating and self-hypnosis is so more important at the moment, you know, really important.
I definitely have found that recently. And I had a colleague say to me, and I really resonated with me, is if we're not doing the inner work and we're not working with other hypnotists to help us to improve and do the inner work, then we aren't even being effective with our clients. I thought that was really interesting and so true.
Yeah, so true, so true. It's, you know, if you're not working on yourself, you're standing still. And, you know, I really believe this life is an opportunity for us to really graduate. And, you know, because I came into this life with a lot of karma, a lot of baggage. It's felt like that subsequently when I've looked back on it. And a lot of relationships that need to be healed in my family. And I feel over time I've done that. You know, I've done a lot of that. I've moved it forward a lot. And subsequently, life has opened up and it has become much more abundant, much happier and prosperous. But without doing that inner work, I'd have had these failure programs or these sabotage patterns. Because, you know, as I talked about my band, you know, we were a band that were the most sought-after band in the UK at one time. But we were taking shed loads of drugs and just blew this golden opportunity. You know, we should have been huge, but we just had sabotage patterns going on. I know that now looking back. So I, for one, worked on myself and cleared a lot of that. And, you know, ultimately I've gone on to sell 10 million recordings and have an amazing career. And I know the guys I played with back then are still doing pubs and clubs. And, you know, so...
And that's definitely a success habit. I love that. Yeah. Great.
It becomes a habit, doesn't it? The more you work on yourself, the more that whole thing becomes a habit and success becomes natural. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was young, I felt like I struggled so much. It felt so difficult to get breaks and opportunities. It felt like nothing worked. And I always used to expect to fail because that's all I'd known. Now I'm the opposite. I expect things to work and succeed, and if they don't, I then analyse it. Why didn't that one thing work? You know, it does become a habit. It becomes the new normal for you, and you get to that through the inner work. You know, it's the inner work that the clearing of the sabotage patterns, the blocks, help you to get into that flow state.
Yeah, absolutely. That resonates so much with me. I love that, and that's that. The law of attraction, right? The manifesting of whatever we perceive, we achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd got to a point, you know, in my sort of late 20s that I'd never earned much money. I always had cars that were breaking down on me. I'd lived in some real rough places in South London, and I got absolutely sick of it, sick of that struggle. And, you know, because when you haven't got money, you're limited. You know, your life is limited. You don't have many options. And for me, I got so fed up with that. I had this real fire in my belly. It got stronger and stronger to get out. And so then when I discovered hypnosis and the law of attraction, I just immersed myself in it. And I would literally use self-hypnosis for an hour a day, every single day. And I'd be visualizing living an abundant life in a big house, driving an Aston Martin, having a villa in Florida, and really living this happy, abundant life. You know, for me, I was a young man and it was more about the material goals then. But I wrote them all down. When I was driving, I used to drive a minicab as well, and I'd be driving around London at night, doing these affirmations over and over again. So I really, really immersed myself in that because I wanted it so much. I wanted to change my life from the inside out. And little by little it did. You know, it happened. I got more and more abundant. Opportunities came along. I ended up driving the Aston Martin, and, you know, it was everything I visualized happened.
Yeah.
And it was... that. Yeah, it was powerful, you know.
And it is visualization. Yep. And that's why the audios help also. So tell us a little bit about your audios. Maybe you have some tips for us on making audios, a little bit about your business and how you got that started.
Yeah, well, that was a natural progression because I'd been a musician and I'd always kept a little recording studio in my house. And back when I started my career as a hypnotherapist, I was literally at one point seeing 25, 30 clients a week because I was, you know, working in lots of different places in the local area, and I was just immersed in it because suddenly I had this career that I loved, and I was, you know, advertising everywhere I could, and I used to even advertise in little shops because it was before the internet, so I'd have little cards in local shops, you know, hypnotherapist, and I put myself out there and took every opportunity that came, even little opportunities. My wife says to me now, you still do that. You still work as though I'm broke. She says, because it's a habit that I had then and I've kept it, you know, and I still do. Even if opportunities come across now, I take every one because it's just hardwired. And so when I started to make recordings, I'd seen literally about 1,000 clients by then. So I had a good sort of scholarship, and I was, getting good results at that point with my clients. So then one day I remember a client said, "Could you record something for me?" I thought, I've got my little setup at home. And it was really before the sort of mass production of hypnosis, and everyone and their mother is making recordings now, aren't they? Because you can do a course online on hypnotherapy, plug into your laptop, and then you can make a recording and then upload it online. But there wasn't those opportunities then, and I was literally making cassettes. And I started with this one cassette I made for a lady, and then I thought I'll make a cassette for myself to feel more confident, because I was still struggling a bit with my confidence back then. So I made this recording for confidence, put a bit of reverb on it, went into a DAT machine, ran it off to cassette, and I thought this is quite good, so maybe I could sell it into local shops. So then I phoned up a local businessman who had a chain of 60 chemists, and I could never get through to him, but I persevered. I probably called him about 50 times. And eventually I got through to him and I said, "Oh, Dennis, I work in one of your clinics. Could I possibly put my cassettes in the chemists?" And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what," he said, "put them into 3, and if they sell, we'll roll them out into all 50. And that was my first break. And I made 50 calls to get through to him. Got through to him, and I put them into the 3 chemists. They sold, and then I went back to him, I made a load of calls again, got through to him, and he said, "Yeah, go for it, put them into all 50. And then I borrowed £1,000 off the bank to get a nice display unit. And within 3 years, I had 5 people working for me, and we were turning over £500,000 a year. And my PA said to me, "What's this £36 coming out of our account?" And I said, "Oh, that's the £1,000 I borrowed off the bank." And I was still paying it back when I had all these staff, and it had just gone through the roof. And so it was a very organic journey, but all the way through it I was projecting out the law of attraction, abundance, opportunities come easily to me, and I was religious, and it just had this momentum that just carried me through. And it wasn't just that, I got so lucky later on, because cassettes, from one year to the next, they just fell through the floor. Cassettes died, and then CDs took off. Yeah. And so I quickly had to get rid of all the cassettes and then put on CDs and get them out. And then I was lucky I got into Waterstones, which was a big book chain store in the UK at the right time. And then later on I got onto Audible. I was the first hypnotherapist on Audible, and it was just by chance somebody mentioned Audible, they had a contact, put me onto them, and I got onto Audible. And so I've always been very, very lucky getting the breaks at the right time. But then I was constantly affirming that I'm always in the right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. I was projecting that out there, and it worked for me like a treat every time.
Love it. Always in the right place at the right time. Perfect affirmation.
I must have said that affirmation 1,000,000 times. I'm always in the right place at the right time. Abundance comes freely and naturally to me. All of my needs are constantly met. That's completely hardwired into my subconscious now.
I love that. Repeat that one more time for us. Those 3.
I'm always in the right place at the right time. Abundance comes freely and naturally to me. All of my needs are constantly met. Love that. Kind of covers everything.
Yes. I'm using that. I love it.
It's something that you can just constantly do. Use the downtime, when you're showering or when you're driving, turn the radio off and use those affirmations. Mm-hmm. That's the way I did it. I just affirmed that over again, and then I used self-hypnosis for dedicated things. If I wanted to, create something or manifest something specifically, I'd visualize it over and over again, and I'd imagine I was in the house. I wanted a villa in Florida. So I'd visualize that, and I'd imagine swimming in the pool and driving up the drive, being in the house, and and I went out there and bought one. Yeah. Eventually, I got that house that I visualized.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
That was a crazy ride though, because I bought it. It was probably early 2000s. It was just before the boom in Florida. There was a massive boom and bust, and I bought it just before the boom, so it rocketed in value. And then it fell off a cliff, it plummeted, and I just sold it for about the same that I bought it for. Mm-hmm. It was a crazy time, yeah, but, it's, That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's the thing as well. Once you do start to become abundant and you have money, then you've got to know where to put it, because, you know, there's nothing certain in the world. There's nothing secure. You've got to, and again, I use self-hypnosis to guide me with that. Yeah. You know, and I think for me at the moment, silver's a good investment, a very good investment. Gold's gone up quite a lot in the last couple of years. So silver's a great investment. It's not really gone up too much, and silver can, probably the downside is quite minimal, but the upside is huge. You know, silver was $40 a few years ago. Now it's just gone to $19. So, you know.
Good tip. Another good tip. And I was just going to say, I am a firm believer in, what was I going to tell you? Oh, I had a friend that said to me once, I'm already a millionaire. And I thought, that is perfect. I wrote that down, put it on my desk, say it all the time. I'm already a millionaire, right?
Yeah, and believe in the here and now.
Yeah.
In the here and now. Have you ever heard the story of Jim Carrey? He said that he's told this story on talk shows a few times. He said that when he was a young boy, his grandfather taught him about the law of attraction. And so he visualized it to get a bike. And he said a year later or whatever, the bike came along, he got it, and he was like blown away that the visualization had really worked. So as he was a young man, he got into acting, he used to visualize getting a $10 million check. And he even wrote it, he even actually had the check, wrote his name on it, Jim Carrey, I paid $10 million. And he said when he made one of his big movies, The Mask or whatever it was, he got a $10 million check.
Isn't that crazy? It happened.
It happened for him, and he said he gave it to his dad. He said that was his gift, because it was his dad and his grandfather taught him about the law of attraction. Yeah. You know, and he's one of those celebrities that's got always got an interesting story.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
All right, tell us what your number one secret is in how you consistently and successfully grow your business or new businesses, because it sounds like you just always jumping on those opportunities. Not only do you manifest them, but you also go out and get them, right? But what is your number one secret in just consistently growing for more abundance, more success?
I think you have to have the belief that you can do it. You can realize your goals. You know, so whatever it is you want, you've got to be crystal clear as well. Think about what it is you want. You know, what do you want to achieve in your life? Do you want to have a bigger house? Do you want to have an amazing career in a certain field? Do you want to have a really happy family life? Do you want to grow spiritually? You know, what is it you want? What are your goals? Maybe it's all of those things. You know, they kind of all work together. You could certainly have a list of those goals. And I'd maybe write out 5 goals that you really want to achieve. And then, you know, believe that you can do that. You know, if you want to be a millionaire, believe it's going to happen. And I would say then immerse yourself in it completely. And, you know, I was, at the time I was really doing that work and got off the ground, I was reading books on, you know, a lot of biographies on people that had become very, very successful. I love those stories, rags to riches, you know, people who had really tough starts, but they'd made it. Because kind of that's the journey I'd been on, you know, I have been on now. But back then it spoke to me, because if I thought if somebody was in the gutter and they were really struggling, then I've been down there. So, and if they could make it, then maybe I could. And so that was the thing. So I immersed myself in reading these biographies, these millionaires, how did they do it? And a lot of them were always risk takers. You know, you've got to take risks and you've got to be brave as well. You've got to have a bit of courage. Yeah, that was another big one for me. At the time back then, I thought, I need to develop a bit more courage. And, you know, if I'm scared out of my wits of walking into a room and talking to a group of people, I've got to do it. I've got to feel that fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I did back then, I did a parachute jump. I did a solo parachute jump. And my logic was, if I can jump out of an aeroplane on my own, then, you know, there's not too many other things in life that are going to frighten me. And I did it. You know, I did a parachute jump and it was amazing. Then I did a number of firewalks. I walked across burning coals. You know, I did a couple of group ones in various places, and that was amazing, you know, because if you walk across burning coals and you know, you've got the mindset to do that because you have to get yourself in a really positive state of mind. You know, I remember looking at the burning coals and thinking, how am I going to walk across this? You know, because your mind's sort of, all these self-doubts come up. But then you override that. You get into this really positive state, altered state of consciousness, and you visualize yourself doing it. And that visualization transfers to the physical because it's, you know, the mind-body connection is really strong, and you're able to walk across burning coals.
Yeah.
And so I did a number of things like that as well. And
so your number one secrets are write your 5 most important goals down, manifest and visualize them, and then feel the fear and do it anyway.
Exactly. That's in a nutshell.
Yeah. Love it.
That's
perfect. Those are great tips.
And never let anything stop you. Never let anyone else stop you as well. You know, if the one thing that the abundance journey gave me as well is that I started to find it easy to let go of negative relationships and, you know, toxicity in my life. If I had anything like that, you know, sometimes it was a gradual separation. You know, you moved into a new space and you weren't resonating. You were at I was at a different frequency and they were, so it was a natural break. And, you know, it's childhood friends, and some of my childhood friends, you know, we got up to a lot of mischief, and as an adult, you feel a sense of loyalty and that kind of thing. But if they're still stuck in a place that's not congruent with where you want to go, you know, it's a natural progression. And it's different if somebody's stuck and they want help, they want to go forward, but they just don't know how. That's different. You can help people. But if they're just stuck in that negativity and that, you know, conditioning that they've got from their childhood, then you sometimes move away. So naturally, you know, and now I love being around positive people who are optimistic and forward thinking, and it's a natural thing because when you're like that yourself, it's a vibrational energy. You're drawn to people like that and you meet them naturally. Yeah. And I love that.
And I find also the more you're around those people, those kind of positive people that have that energy, you recognize more those that don't, and you want to give that to them. You want them to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing nicer than helping people who are, you know, struggling, but they don't know how, but they're looking for the help. You know, that's the thing. You know, and that's where it all starts. You've got to believe that however stuck you are, however broke you are, you can change it. You can break out of that. Yeah. You've got to be open to that. You've got to be open to receiving it. You know, and that's it. And I love helping people like that. You know, and for me now, the way I do it now is through the recordings because, you know, I've got this amazing platform where I put a recording out and it reaches so many people, and so I really think about the recordings I put out, and you know, that's the opportunity for me now to do that.
Yeah, I love that, and I have to acknowledge you for offering the bereavement audios for me. I'm really excited about that. So thank you. Thanks for the generosity and offering.
You're welcome. Yeah. You know, it's that was a recording I made because I had a number of requests from people who'd lost people, and it was one of those recordings that is never going to be one of my biggest sellers, or because it's a very niche sort of title, but it was something I wanted to do from the heart, you know. And I'd seen a couple of clients as well that had lost people, and so the work I did with them, I thought about that when I was making the recording.
Yeah. Well, and you know, honestly, all of us at some point in our lives are going to lose someone that's really special and important to us. So I'm sure that there is a big market for it.
Yeah. It's one of those, you know, and I'm kind of lucky when I make recordings now. I don't have to think of the commercial thing. You know, I do it because I want to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not, you know, the last recording I made was letting go of fear. Because so many people are struggling with that at the moment. There's a huge amount of fear around. And so I made a recording. There's put a 20-minute version of that up on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And so you can listen to that for free, and, you know, it's a nice one to put out there.
Awesome. So how would we find that? Just YouTube, your name and the fear recording?
Yeah, so type my name into YouTube, Let Go of Fear, and you'll find it there. It's, yeah. I've got a channel, so, and I put another one since called Awaken and Ascend, which is more of a spiritual flavor. I just put that up yesterday, actually.
Awesome. I think that's great. And you're right. In this day and age, it's amazing how many people are struggling with fear. And that
it's
that'll be
crazy,
very
isn't it?
helpful. Anything else you'd like to share with us before we talk about the free gift that you're offering our audience?
I think it's, just have the belief that you can change your life. And, there's nothing stopping you. I always think of this, there's people today, right now, who are flat broke, who've got no opportunities, that are going to end up in a few years' time multi-millionaires. They've got nothing at the moment, but they are going to end up multi-millionaires. What's to stop you doing that? Anyone can do that. So know that, that I was a kid who, like I said, I had no qualifications, kicked out of school at 15. I ended up writing 7 books for major publishers, and and I'm not I was never the brightest kid in class. I was in the middle somewhere. So I've gone a long way on the natural talents I had.
Yeah.
And so anyone can do that. Anyone, if you get the mindset right, you can really achieve anything you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's the mindset. So get the mindset of a
And
millionaire.
also, just to add to that, the world we live in, although it's very stressful and chaotic and uncertain, we are living in a digital revolution that is more transformative than the Industrial Revolution 200 years ago. It's a bigger change, and we're right in the middle of it. Probably maybe not in the middle, it's still the early days. So there's all of these opportunities in the world that are springing up. And opportunities for the ordinary people, everyday people who are, coming from poor backgrounds. If you've got an internet connection and a phone, you're in touch with the whole world. So we do live in a very opportunistic world.
Yes, and we get to take advantage of that. Awesome.
Yeah.
So the free gift that you're offering for us is the Relax and Sleep Well audio. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it? The link is on the bottom of the screen, how to get it, which is going to Glenn Harrold's website /relax. But tell us a little bit about it, and
So that was a recording I made probably about 15 years ago. It's one of my earlier ones, and it's a very simple, straightforward one that guides you into a nice, relaxed, still safe, physical body relaxation, mental relaxation. And it's a good one to listen to when you go to bed at night, because it will take you off to sleep. And there's a few positive affirmations on there and that kind of thing. So it's a nice introduction to my work, very gentle, and it's a good one to use at bedtime.
Perfect. And I know that most of us entrepreneurs, we wake up in the middle of the night with lots of ideas and things spinning in our heads. So that is the perfect free gift. Thank you so much.
So have a pen and paper next to your bed.
Yes.
That's a good one. Because you get great ideas and you wake up in the morning and think, what was it I was thinking?
You're right. I have some amazing ideas in the middle of the night. So I pen and paper, write it down, listen to the audio. You're golden.
That's it.
I love it. Great. Thank you. And all of you in the audience here, don't forget to go to YouTube and look at his Let Go of Fear, Glenn's Let Go of Fear audio. I'm excited to take a look at that too. And I think that could help a lot of people these days.
And I've got a webinar actually on Friday, 5 p.m. UK time, a webinar that's free, and that's on YouTube as well.
Is it a live webinar?
It's a live webinar. Yeah, since the lockdown, I've been doing them every Friday at 5 p.m.
Awesome.
And it's good. It's something I cover different topics each week. This week, abundant life. It's about abundance. It's a similar theme, abundance.
Are there replays for that?
Yeah, on my YouTube channel.
Perfect.
Yeah. So Glenn Harrold on YouTube, and if you find Letting Go of Fear, you can subscribe to the channel from there, and I'm doing them every Friday.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time, Glenn, and all of your wisdom and knowledge that you gave us. That was some...
You're most welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Yes. Thanks again. And thank you all for joining us. We're going to sign off now. Bye.
Bye-bye.